Story 1. Am I the a-hole for blowing up at my husband for sharing my daughter's birthday pictures? Ever since my brother passed away at the age of 17 on his birthday, my family decided to never celebrate birthdays ever again. It was Mom and Dad's decision, but because of how much the family loved my brother, the extended family decided to do the same and stand in agreement with this decision. My husband would refuse to follow this decision and kept celebrating his birthday. Me and the family didn't say a thing about it since he's not a blood family, but when I first got pregnant, the argument about celebrating our daughter's birthday occurred. My family advised me to just not celebrate her birthday since she's a baby and won't even remember anyway. I agreed, but my husband threw a fit and insisted that we celebrate our daughter's first birthday. I caved in eventually, but told him we'd have a small, secret celebration so that my family wouldn't find out. He agreed. The next day, I got a call from my mom, and she was so upset, saying that my word meant nothing and that I have no respect for my brother's memory nor the family. I asked what she meant, and she told me she saw the birthday party pics my husband posted on social media. I was too shocked to even argue. I hung up and went straight to my husband to confront him about it. He got defensive and said that he didn't need my permission to post pics, and that he wanted to show his family the birthday celebration pics since I insisted we have a small secret party and exclude them. I explained to him how this made me look bad and a liar to my family, but he said they can get over it, and called my mom Snooby. I blew up at him, and we had a huge fight about it. He started sulking later and said I ruined the memory of our daughter's first birthday for him and verbally abused him with how I lashed out. But I solely did it out of frustration, knowing that what happened caused a massive problem between me and my family. Now he's expecting an apology from me. Am I the a-hole? I'm not even that big on birthdays personally, but I do find it odd that the whole blood family and everything is no birthdays ever, and then it's the daughter's born, it's no birthdays, and is this just gonna keep spreading? I feel like eventually you might have to move on from that, but that's not my place to say. Whatever they're all happy and comfortable with, but that I don't know, I don't understand that reaction. Losing a family member like that, heartbreaking. I feel terrible for them, but whatever works for them. But spreading it on to the daughter and not allowing that seems a little harsh. Kids love birthdays. It's a wonderful thing for them. If adults don't, fine, but I don't know. Birthdays are fun for kids. But then again, as a 1-year-old, yeah, she's not going to remember. I do not understand birthday parties for 1-year-olds. Those are just for adults. And I think the dad could have waited and probably shouldn't have gotten so upset about it. I don't know. I don't know where I land on this. This is weird and uncomfortable. Moving on. Story 2. Former landlady kicked my family out during the holidays. Let me start off by saying that my former landlady is an a-hole of the highest order, and I'm sure many will agree when I relate the whole story. So here we go. During 2020, my family and I were renting a mobile home that we had resided in for nearly 9 years by 2022. We got on well with the previous landlord. He was the owner of the property and a decent guy who always fixed things when they were broken, and if he wasn't able to, he would deduct the cost of any repairs from the rent. He didn't even make us sign a lease before the initial one back in 2013. We just verbally agreed to keep the rent the same with the same arrangements for repairs and whatnot. Fast forward to 2020, and I find out that the guy had passed away from COVID-related complications, and since he was childless, his ex-wife had inherited the property. Right off the mark, the lady was a pain, decrying the whole situation, stating that she really didn't want to manage a property, but seeing as we had rented from her ex for so many years, she would give it a shot for a time and see how it worked out. Husband and I listed all the issues that still needed addressing with the house. They weren't necessarily pressing issues, but they would become bigger problems in the future if they weren't taken care of soon. Cooling unit needed replacing, the wiring was becoming faulty, etc. It's an old house. She assured us that she would be in touch soon to assess the issues and get started on the work that was needed. Little did we know that the landlady was making an active effort to sell the property without telling us. Every conversation with her became stilted and short, and she kept talking about how she needed to conduct an inspection of the property. Normally, a pending inspection by a landlord would not have bothered me, but she would make attempts to enter the home without giving us proper notice. In my state, it's a minimum of 48 hours notice to enter a tenant's home, and it has to be made in writing. Then one day, our water was shut off by the water company for no reason that we could determine. I contacted the water company and was told that due to a water leak on the main water line to the house, we lived about 2/3 of a mile back from where our water meter was, and the wastage we had from it, they had to shut the water off to prevent further wastage. I then contacted the landlady to let her know because a repair like this was well beyond mine or my husband's capabilities. We'd repaired smaller water leaks at the house itself, but this was a larger job that we didn't have the ability to repair ourselves. The landlady assured me that she would get someone out there to fix the problem, and the water company agreed to turn the water back on based on that assurance. Weeks went by, with a lot of back and forth from the landlady, always with some excuse as to why the water leak hadn't been fixed. Husband and I started looking for a new place to live that we could afford. We were in a tight situation financially, but were having no luck. Eventually, the situation came to a head when I was woken by one of my kids. In her hand was a notice of eviction from the landlady. She had apparently just taped it onto the front door and made no attempt to knock and speak with either myself or my husband. I immediately contacted her asking her why she was evicting us, and she tried to gaslight me. She kept saying that she made numerous attempts to come inspect the property only to be blocked by me or my husband, and so she had sold the property. She gave us 3 weeks to move out. This was the week before Christmas. Once I told my husband, he began to search for another home. To my surprise, he found one. We got approval on our application, and we were moved in well before the landlady's deadline. Enter petty revenge. I changed all the exterior locks to the house before we left and did not provide her with updated keys, in addition to taking with us parts of the circuit box that we had recently replaced that she had not reimbursed us for. I also left a note for the new owners warning them about the water leak that hadn't been fixed. To my knowledge, no one lives there at the moment, and it's been almost a year since the property was sold, and there's not a damn thing that anyone could do since we weren't on a paper lease because she was too determined to offload the property and didn't want to fuss with signing a lease. You had the wonderful gift of an actual nice landlord, and the world took it away from you and gave you a standard issue landlord, the real crapheads of the world. I'm sorry, I know there are good landlords out there. Some of you exist, and you just happen to have some extra property. You help folks out. You're nice. You're reasonable. Most of you are like this woman, and most of you deserve what you get when you don't take care of the property and hold up your end of the whole landlord-tenant agreement. So, yeah, as far as I would say, this lady got exactly what she deserved, which is a probably half-rundown house that's not being taken care of that she can't offload onto anybody because she didn't just honestly talk with them about the issues she was having and figure something better out, and instead just chose to be a typical landlord. Story 3. I caught my younger brother spying on me while I'm changing. I'm 20 female, currently still living at home with my parents, and younger brother, 18 male. I've been dealing with multiple incidents of him perving on me and getting away with it by gaslighting me and or my parents about it. First incident I can specifically remember was a while ago at my grandparents' house. He kept trying to challenge me to climb up an old tree house, which I finally did, only to realize he could see up my skirt as I was climbing up. I yell at him to stop looking, and he acts like I was being gross for thinking he was. Whole situation was super weird, so just brushed it off and never said anything about it again. A few months later, I caught him going through my photos on my laptop. Huge fight ensued, of course, and my parents got involved. He tells me he was trying to delete an ugly picture I took of him, and somehow my parents see it as we're both in the wrong. I don't have anything scandalous on there, but it just felt so off for him to be going through my pictures. Fast forward to us moving into our new house this summer, and now we share a bathroom. He never knocks when he knows I'm using the bathroom. Instead, he just tries to see if the door is locked. Eventually, the inevitable happens. I forget to lock the door, and he barges in. Luckily, I was half decent. I tell my parents about this, and instead of the solution being he should knock, the solution is I should use the guest bathroom downstairs. Most recent incident was a couple nights ago after a family barbecue. Came back to my room and noticed the sweatpants I had changed out of before everyone arrived were out of the laundry hamper and on the floor. When I got up to do the laundry the next morning, I realized the panties I was wearing with those sweatpants were gone. The thought of confronting him over it and him gaslighting me again was honestly so exhausting I just didn't say anything. Now another pair are missing, and I'm still acting like I have no idea. No, gross, no, I'm so mad, I just, because, okay, like, if he was, like, 13 or 12 or 14 or something, I might have some amount of understanding, like, okay, look, what this kid's doing is not okay, not cool. clearly all the hormones that his body is just mainlining to his brain are overloading things, and the parents need to sit down and have a real serious talk about boundaries and what's okay with them. But he's 18. He's 18 years old, and even though that's still a teenager, it's still growing. It's also old enough to where you gotta know better, and this is just so skeevy, and I hate it, and I hope this person gets out of that house and away from, no. And parents, do something about it. Don't just be like, well, just use a different bathroom. I don't know. Like, no, I'm sorry. Be responsible a little bit. I don't know if your parenting led to this kid being like this, but your parenting now is not helping the situation. Story 4. Today I effed up by locking myself outside my bedroom with only a towel. My fiancé, 26 female, and I, 23 male, decided to take a shower after painting a room before the carpet installation on Friday. We have a small door handle with a fingerprint sensor, a security measure to prevent unwanted entries. As we prepare for the shower, I make a lighthearted joke about charging the door handle, not realizing it was low on battery. After grabbing our towels, I went out with just a towel, and my fiancé followed suit. She closed the door fully, activating the fingerprint mechanism for unlocking. 2 minutes into the shower, my fiancé realizes she forgot her shampoo and conditioner. Attempting to unlock the door, she discovers the fingerprint sensor was unresponsive. I think she wasn't touching it long enough. Urged her to try again, however, it turned out the door handle was dead. With only a towel around me, I set out on a mission to find a charger, as the smart door handle used a micro USB cable. I checked my brother's room, who had a similar handle, but to my dismay, he had only USB-C cables. Downstairs, I informed my dad of the situation, clad in just a towel, and explained the need for a charger. I located the only available cable conveniently right in front of the TV, and proceeded to bend down to retrieve it. Apologizing to my dad, I ventured upstairs, revealing my resourcefulness in the family. The cable turned out to be a broken micro USB, adding another obstacle to my predicament. I went downstairs again, found a slightly shorter cable, but it still didn't reach the charger port. Determined, I fetched an extension cable, stretched it upstairs, and plugged it in for a brief moment, allowing me to unlock the door. Upon re-entering, my dogs, a lively sausage dog and a German Rottweiler Husky mix, greeted me with curiosity. I had heard them downstairs wind up the cable and secure the door, reflecting on the ordeal. I concluded that my earlier attempt to charge the door handle might have inadvertently shorted its electronics. Lesson learned. Never underestimate the battery life of a smart door handle. I do tend to be a big fan of a lot of smart home devices and stuff, but I am a cautious fan of them, and I try to act in my day-to-day life like I can never fully trust them. Because you can't. Because the more you rely on all the computers and the charging cables, so many charging cables. There's so many charging cables in my house now. There's just so many more points of failure with all that stuff. I can't just turn on the light above the sink. I gotta tell the little smart device to turn on the light above the sink. Unless I turn it off, then I gotta turn it on and go in the app and just... It's too much stuff. Don't trust your smart home, but do use it. It's nice. Little fingerprint scanner. I've been thinking about getting one of those, but never trust it. The moment you trust it, that's when they're gonna Skynet you. Story 5. My mom wants to check my bank account, and I can't really say no. So I, 18 female, opened my own bank account a few months ago under my own name. Before I got my first paycheck, my mom told me that she'd like to check my purchases and how much money I spent on the account. Another problem is that I do have to give her some money for other reasons. I bought a new phone secondhand, and when my mom asked me how much I spent on it, I lied and said that it was 300 euros, but it was actually 420 euros. I earn 1,400 euros monthly, and yesterday she asked me how much money I have left, and I said that I have 800 euros left, which is true because I had to pay my mom 60 euros that I owed her. I also used the money to buy things that I really need. I wanted to buy the important things now. I don't have to worry about my second paycheck. The problem is that I sell old clothes online because I need as much money as possible to move out of this sickening household, but when I sent the packages to my clients, I was too lazy to go to the bank and withdraw the money for the post, so I just used my card. Yesterday, my mom wanted to see my bank account and asked me if I got the statement of my account because I tried to get it, but it says that I have no statement. She doesn't believe me, though. I didn't want to show her my online banking account, so I blocked it. I just feel so uncomfortable showing her what I spend my money on because it's my privacy. I also don't understand why she feels so entitled to know. It's my money, and I worked hard for it, but the problem is that my mom is a huge drama queen. Saying no will only give us more trouble. But I also don't want to explain myself because I don't need to. I just don't want any trouble because I'm tired. I wanted to rush to the bank to see if I could get a statement and hide them. Today is my grandmother's birthday. My mom told me to give her some money. Did I think about getting another statement once I withdrew the money for my grandma so that my mom will finally leave me alone? This situation is stressing me a lot. I woke up anxiously because I hate having to worry about things that aren't actually a problem. I don't know why my parents make me feel bad for spending my own money on things that I really need. It's too much stress for me. Thankfully, they don't have my account details and don't have any access unless I let them, but I'm scared that they might force me to do so. I just want her to leave me the F alone. Controlling parents are the worst, and you have every right to your privacy. And anyone who says, well, as long as you're living under her house, it's her rule, shut up. I hate that excuse so much. Shut up. No, you are allowed your privacy, no matter where you live, especially as an adult. You are 18 years old. It is your bank account. She doesn't get to check that stuff, but she's going to make a big deal about it because she's a controlling parent. And maybe it's with the best of intentions. Maybe she thinks that she's helping you and helping you avoid that kind of stuff. But some parents don't realize it's like you've got to trust your kids for them to actually become responsible. If you never show trust, then they're never going to really be trustworthy. It's just, I hate that kind of stuff. And I feel so bad for kids and young adults even who have to deal with this kind of treatment. So I hope you can tough it out, and I hope you can get out of there soon because no one should have to live with that kind of stress. Story 6. I just found out that 4 of my 5 children are not mine. First of all, I'm sorry if this ends up being long and rambly. I'm not really in the best state of mind. My world has been turned upside down over the last couple of weeks. I just want to write as much context as possible so I can get the best advice needed. For obvious reasons, I'm not yet comfortable talking about this with my friends, parents, or siblings. Background. I met my wife when we were in high school and we married in college. We have 5 beautiful children together. Really, I consider them a total blessing regardless of what I'm about to bring up. And up until a couple of weeks ago, I thought that we had the perfect marriage. We were typical high school sweethearts. We go out together, we never fight. I feel like I've done everything a loving husband should do. I'm saying this not to make myself out as the perfect husband. For example, my work has always meant I work long hours and maybe haven't always been there when she needed me, but I want to stress that I've never felt our marriage was in any trouble. And never in a million years would I ever have suspected my wife of being disloyal. She's always done everything she could to support me and take care of our children. Now, my eldest daughter recently had an ancestry test done, and the result of the ancestry test strongly suggested I was not her father. She confided this to me privately, showing me the results, and I could tell she was visibly upset by this. Of course, the first thing I did was reassure her that no matter what, she's my daughter, and I'll always love her unconditionally. But secondly, the two of us decided to get an official paternity test since the ancestry tests are not completely reliable. It comes back, and I am indeed not her biological father. This news really broke me. I'm ashamed to say I broke down in tears in front of my daughter. The combination of finding out about my wife's infidelity and how upset I was making my daughter by how I was reacting, I really wish I had kept it in for her sake, but I didn't. Following this, I asked my other children, except my youngest, to come and see me. I wanted to know the extent of my wife's infidelity. If it was a one-off, I could maybe work past it, especially given how long ago it would be. However, I didn't want to tell my youngest, and she is still in school, a teenager, and really I didn't think it was appropriate to tell her yet. We tell the other 3 what happened. I reassure them that I love them unconditionally and that I'll always be their dad, but that I need to know how long this has been going on. God, I can't begin to explain how touching their reaction was. They didn't care that I wasn't their biological father. They were just upset at how heartbroken I was. I feel like the only thing that has kept me going these last couple of weeks is their unwavering support. So we have paternity tests for each of the 3 done. Not only are none of them my biological children, together 4 of my children have 3 different fathers, which somehow made it worse. It's like she wasn't just having an ongoing affair, she was having multiple. I can't explain how this makes it worse, but it just does. So I confront my wife with this, expecting her to confess and beg for forgiveness. She doesn't confess. She doesn't even take it seriously. She says the tests must be flawed. All 4? How the hell am I supposed to take that seriously? I keep bringing it up and she keeps brushing it off, getting progressively more annoyed at me. When I bring it up, she will try and guilt trip me. We've been together since high school. Do you seriously not trust me, etc.? But how am I supposed to trust her in the face of such overwhelming evidence? Now that I've rambled and explained what has happened, I guess let me ask a few direct questions for advice. How can I reassure my children this doesn't change anything between us? I feel like the way I've reacted, total breakdowns, has made them second guess this despite how many times I reassured them. How do I handle my youngest daughter? I feel like our marriage is beyond saving and I will need to tell my daughter something. I don't want her to know the truth until she's older, but I also don't want my wife lying and making me out to be the villain. Is there any way at all you think I could or should save my marriage? I've been with my wife my entire life. It's almost impossible to see a life without her. I know that the answer should be clear-cut, leave her, but we have 5 kids together. If there's anything that can be done to save our marriage, I want to consider it seriously. First, I think the thing that you say to your kids in this situation is, look, I know I've had these big emotional breakdowns and I seem very distraught, but that is more at the mother's infidelity and nothing to do with them not being biologically yours. I think that, just open honesty, open, honest communication. And it seems like they're very reasonable and open to this kind of stuff. So that I think is the best option. And the fact that she is just still denying this and dismissing it and getting mad at you, even though you have this kind of evidence, I would ask, doctors or whatever, hey, is there any possible way that this could be false? Maybe there's something weird with my blood that also makes it so there are 3 different fathers for the kids. I don't know. Maybe there's a mistake. You could look into that. But otherwise, I would say hey, could we have some couples therapy if you wanted to try and work it out? But if you don't, I do not blame you. And I'm pretty sure the kids would probably be on your side. And hopefully she can admit what she's done. And maybe something can be repaired, or I don't know. Please leave your story in the comments. I would love to make a video on them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.